Can you imagine standing on the side of a highway in the 1950s, watching an American classic roar past at over 125 miles per hour? No, we're not talking about Ferraris or Porsches. We're talking about true V8 machines built in Detroit with more chrome than a parade and more power than many modern cars. Today, we're traveling back to the golden era of automotive history to discover the 10 fastest American cars of the 1950s. And I guarantee that some of these you never even knew existed. Now tell me, if you could pick just one of these classics for your garage, which one would it be? The most powerful? The rarest? Or simply the one that makes your heart race the most? Leave your choice in the comments. Here, we celebrate the passion for the cars that defined an era. If you love the smell of vintage gasoline, engines with soul, and the kind of history that rides on four wheels, hit the like button and subscribe now, because this is just the beginning and the best is yet to come. 1955 to 1956. Mercury Montclair. Have you ever seen a car that looks like it came straight out of a 1950s sci-fi movie? That's exactly what the Mercury Montclair was. And it wasn't just its futuristic silhouette or the chrome details that sparkled like a spacesuit. It was everything it represented at the time. The American dream on wheels with a V8 roar that could make gas station neon signs tremble. Under that long, aggressive hood, the Montclair packed a 312 cubic inch V8 that delivered more than respectable power for its day. And what about speed? We're talking around 118 miles per hour. An impressive feat for a car weighing over 4,000 pounds that looked more like a rolling living room than a sports car. But that's the thing. The Montclair didn't race out of necessity. It raced for style. This car hit the market at a time when America was booming with optimism, black and white television, Elvis on the radio, and the promise of a bright future on every corner. The Montclair was Mercury's response to that excitement. More than a car, it was a statement. Two-tone paint, interiors that looked like a luxury lounge, and a dashboard that resembled an airplane cockpit. Fun fact, the name Montclair was taken from a luxury neighborhood in New Jersey, chosen to reflect exclusivity, class, and progress. This wasn't a car for someone simply going from point A to point B. It was for those who wanted to arrive looking down from above. Today, finding a Montclair in good condition is like taking a first-class trip back in time. Depending on its condition and originality, its price on the classic car market can range between $25,000 and $45,000. It's not just an old car, it's a piece of history that still makes hearts race. 1957 to 1959, Cadillac Eldorado Biarritz. There are cars you don't simply drive, you parade them. The Biarritz is one of those. Just by looking at it, you can almost hear Frank Sinatra playing in the background, smell the fresh leather interior, and picture a Hollywood star stepping out from the back seat. This wasn't just a car. It was a chrome masterpiece with exaggerated proportions, an imposing presence, and an attitude that screamed luxury from every angle. Beneath all that glamour lay a 6.0-liter V8 engine that could push this massive convertible limousine up to 118 miles per hour. An incredible figure for a car of its size and weight. It wasn't made to race, but it could if you dared. This was the kind of Cadillac that glided down Sunset Boulevard as if the road itself were a red carpet. One of the most fascinating features of the Biarritz was its electric convertible top, practically science fiction in the 1950s. The car came loaded with luxuries far ahead of its time. Air conditioning, power steering, power windows, hydraulic brakes, automatic radio tuning, all while many cars still had manual cranks and basic ventilation systems. Cadillac wasn't building cars, it was building status symbols. And here's a fun fact. Its name, Biarritz, wasn't chosen by accident. It comes from a coastal city in southern France, famous as a glamorous getaway for European royalty. That's exactly the image Cadillac wanted to project. Transatlantic luxury, limitless elegance, and power under control. Today, finding a Biarritz in pristine condition is no easy task. With its massive tail fins, gold trim, and plush interiors, it has become a highly coveted piece for collectors worldwide. The price? Be ready. A fully restored model can easily exceed $100,000 if you're lucky enough to find one through the right connections. 1951 to 1954, Hudson Hornet. This isn't just a car. It's a legend on wheels. The Hudson Hornet was the first car to dominate NASCAR before muscle cars even existed, and it did so with an engine that many underestimated. A 5.0-liter inline-six with twin-H power dual carburetors roaring like a V8 and often outrunning them. With a top speed of nearly 118 miles per hour, the Hornet was a powerful anomaly in an era when most cars were calm family sedans. Its secret wasn't just the engine, but its low center of gravity thanks to its innovative step-down design. The car literally sat lower than its competitors. The result? Cornering stability that gave it an unbeatable edge on the racetrack. From 1951 to 1954, the Hornet reigned supreme in NASCAR. With drivers like Marshall Teague, Herb Thomas, and Tim Flock behind the wheel, it won over 80 races in just 3 seasons. It was so dominant that other manufacturers began building cars specifically to beat it, and still couldn't stop it for years. But its legacy goes beyond speed. The Hudson Hornet stands as one of the first production cars to achieve racing success without extreme modifications. And for younger audiences, it might be best remembered as Doc Hudson from Pixar's Cars. A fitting tribute to the respect and nostalgia this model still inspires. In today's market, the Hudson Hornet is highly sought after for its racing pedigree. Running unrestored models typically range between $30,000 and $50,000. Now it's your turn. Have you ever seen one of these Hornets in person? Do you remember Doc Hudson? Or better yet, did you live through NASCAR's golden era in the 50s? Share your story in the comments. 1957 Oldsmobile 98 Holiday Coupe. If the 1950s could be summed up in one car, the Oldsmobile 98 Holiday Coupe would be one of the top contenders. Big, bold, imposing, and featuring those famous rear fins that looked like airplane wings. It was a statement of presence in every inch. And it wasn't just about looks. Inside, it was a rolling luxury lounge, upholstered in fine materials, with details that sparkled like the bright future America was dreaming of. Under the hood, what roared wasn't just any engine, it was a 6.1-liter Rocket 5.8. Not only one of the most iconic names in the industry, but also one of the most powerful performers of its time. With a top speed of nearly 125 miles per hour, this Oldsmobile ranked among the fastest cars on the market, all while sacrificing nothing in terms of comfort. Here's a fascinating detail. For decades, Oldsmobile was one of GM's most innovative divisions, and the 98 was its crown jewel. The 1957 model introduced an entirely new design, a massive grille, wider and lower bodywork, and a visual attitude that screamed, "Look at me!" Even when parked, it was as heavy as a yacht, yet it could fly on the highway. This car was built for those who wanted Cadillac-level luxury, but with a bolder, more daring twist. And it worked. Many Oldsmobile owners were young entrepreneurs, musicians, and rising stars who didn't want to follow the conventional path. They wanted to carve their own. Today, a well-preserved 1957 Oldsmobile 98 Holiday Coupe can be found in the classic car market for between $30,000 and $50,000, depending on condition and originality. 1957 Pontiac Bonneville. Some cars are born to be popular. Others are born to make history. The 1957 Pontiac Bonneville belongs to the latter. It wasn't just a fast car. It was a rare, highly coveted, and forward-thinking machine. As with only 630 units produced in its first year, it was more of a luxury limited edition than a mass-market model. And that air of mystery still adds to its allure among collectors today. This was the car where Pontiac boldly declared, "We can be as elegant as Cadillac and as fast as Chevrolet." Beneath the hood roared a 5.7-liter V8 with electronic fuel injection, revolutionary technology for 1957, no carburetor. This system came directly from military aviation. The result was astonishing performance, propelling the Bonneville to 125 miles per hour with a smoothness that made you feel like you were flying low. The design followed suit: two-tone paint, abundant chrome, white-wall tires, and a front grille that almost smiled with silver teeth. And the interior? A plush salon packed with buttons, metallic textures, and a dashboard that looked like it belonged in a spaceship. Every Bonneville came fully loaded with all available options, something extremely rare for that era. Here's a little-known fact. The name Bonneville comes from the legendary Bonneville Salt Flats in Utah, where speed records were shattered. Pontiac wanted to honor that tradition of power and did so brilliantly. This car wasn't just fast. It was exclusive, elegant, and universally desired. Today, finding one of these gems is like unearthing buried treasure. In today's classic car market, a 1957 Bonneville can easily command between $80,000 and $120,000, depending on condition. That is, if you're lucky enough to find one. 1955 to 1957, Ford Thunderbird. This wasn't a car built out of necessity. It was born out of pride. The Ford Thunderbird was created as a direct response to the Corvette, but instead of copying it, Ford decided to do something different. Rather than building a pure sports car, they introduced an entirely new concept they called the personal luxury car. And they absolutely nailed it. With its head-turning design and an interior that whispered comfort, the 1955 to 1957 Thunderbird blended sportiness, elegance, and American attitude like few others. In its most powerful version, equipped with a 312 cubic inch Volvo 8, this classic could reach speeds of nearly 130 miles per hour. Not bad for a car that came with luxury upholstery, an analog clock, power steering, and even air conditioning. One of Ford's smartest decisions was not to compete directly with Chevrolet in terms of raw performance. Instead, they offered a car for those who wanted to drive in style, turn heads, and feel like they belonged to a new class of American, someone who traveled solo but lived intensely. It's no coincidence that the Thunderbird became a symbol of smooth rebellion and sophisticated freedom for decades. And what made it even more iconic? Its constant appearances in movies, commercials, and even songs. The T-Bird wasn't just driven, it was showcased. It was the car of young executives, movie stars, and trendsetters who didn't follow the fashions. They created them. As for its value today, a well-preserved Thunderbird from this generation can be found for $35,000 to $60,000, with fully restored or rare examples easily exceeding $75,000. And now we ask you, do you know anyone who owned a Thunderbird? Were you lucky enough to see one rumble down the street? Share your memory or story in the comments. 1956 Dodge D500. This is one of those cars that, if you blink, you miss it. The 1956 Dodge D500 wasn't built for the masses. It was an open secret among true performance enthusiasts, a sleeper disguised as a family sedan, hiding a beast ready to devour the asphalt. Underneath its elegant exterior, which looked very similar to any regular Dodge of the era, sat a 5.2-liter Hemi 5.8, finely tuned by engineers who knew a thing or two about racing. The result? A top speed approaching 130 miles per hour, outperforming many sports cars of the decade without even breaking a sweat. The D500 was a special edition created with a very clear goal to put Dodge on the stock car racing map, and they succeeded. This machine came with upgraded brakes, a reinforced suspension, and a transmission built for high speed. Essentially, it was a race car disguised as a street car. Interestingly, despite its spectacular performance, very few remember it today. Perhaps because it was produced in limited numbers or because it lived in the shadow of flashier models. But those who know its story understand that the D500 was one of the great pioneers of muscle, spirit right in the middle of the 1950s. Today, finding one is like discovering a time capsule. Few units survive in original condition, and collectors who seek them know exactly what they're worth. Its current market value ranges between $45,000 and $65,000, depending on restoration quality and authenticity. 1956 to 1958, Studebaker Golden Hawk. When people talk about the 1950s, most think of Chevrolet, Ford, or Cadillac. But there was one brand, smaller yet bolder, that dared to do what the giants wouldn't: combine luxury, speed, and daring design, all in one package. That was the Studebaker Golden Hawk, a car that seemed ahead of its time and still manages to surprise those who discover it today. At first glance, the Golden Hawk commands attention. It features an aggressive front grille, muscular lines, and tall rear fins that look like wings ready for takeoff. But the most impressive part was under the hood. A 5.8-liter Packard 5.8 engine, paired with a McCulloch supercharger, delivering around 275 horsepower. This combination allowed it to reach speeds between 130 and 137 miles per hour, making it one of the fastest cars of its time, even outperforming many contemporary Corvettes and Thunderbirds. But the Golden Hawk wasn't just muscle, it was filled with refinements. Plush seats with quality materials, chrome trim even around the window frames, and aircraft-style gauges on the dash. It was a car for those who wanted it all: luxury, presence, and top-tier performance. Here's a fascinating fact. Despite its mechanical achievements, many critics of the era considered its design too aggressive. Some loved it, others hated it, but no one ignored it. That polarization turned the Golden Hawk into an icon. It was also one of Studebaker's last great efforts before the brand's decline as an independent automaker. In the collector world, the Golden Hawk holds a special place. It's rare, powerful, and carries that underdog charm that enthusiasts adore. Today, a well-preserved example can sell for $50,000 to $80,000, with professionally restored units commanding even higher prices. 1957 Chevrolet Corvette C1 Fuelie. Some cars don't just define an era, they completely reshape it. The 1957 Chevrolet Corvette C1 Fuelie did exactly that. Why is it so special? Because it was the first Corvette to feature mechanical fuel injection, a revolutionary innovation for its time. And that wasn't just a technical detail. It was the breakthrough that turned the Corvette into a living legend of American motoring. Under the hood roared a 4.6-liter V8 engine capable of delivering up to 283 horsepower, a number that exactly matched its cubic inch displacement, inspiring the famous slogan of the time, 1 horsepower per cubic inch. Equipped with the Rochester Ramjet fuel injection system, this engine left carburetors behind, offering quicker throttle response, better performance, and a top speed reaching 140 miles per hour. For 1957, that was simply astonishing. But it wasn't just a powerful machine. The Corvette C1 Fuelie was a design masterpiece. Its sculpted curves, iconic contrasting side coves, low aggressive stance, everything about it radiated freedom, rebellion, and youthful energy. It was the car that made an entire generation dream of endless highways, sunshine on their faces, and the roar of the engine as their only soundtrack. Here's a little-known fact. The Corvette almost disappeared after weak sales during its first years. But the 1956 redesign, and especially the arrival of the Fuelie in 1957, changed everything. This was the model that saved the Corvette from extinction and catapulted it to stardom, launching a dynasty that continues to this day. In today's market, a 1957 Corvette C1 Fuelie in original or professionally restored condition can sell for between $90,000 and $140,000. Highly prized by collectors seeking authenticity and true automotive heritage. And now we want to hear from you. What does the Corvette mean to you? Is it a car you saw as a child, one you've dreamed of owning, or one you still dream of driving someday? Leave your story in the comments below. 1957, Chrysler 300C. Before the word muscle car even existed, the Chrysler 300C was already roaring. In 1957, when most American cars were big, heavy, and focused on comfort, Chrysler decided to create something different. An elegant, brutally powerful speed machine. The result was a car that shook up the market, dominated the tracks, and left anyone who dared floor the accelerator completely stunned. Under its long, aggressive hood lived a legendary engine, a 6.4-liter Hemi 5.8, delivering 375 horsepower. The result? A top speed of 143 miles per hour, a figure that, at the time, was reserved for exotic European sports cars and racing machines. The 300C was different. It didn't just accelerate, it impressed. Its design spoke just as loudly. The 300C combined refined lines with an aggressive edge, a grille that looked like it was ready to devour the asphalt, and a road presence that commanded respect at every intersection. It came equipped with a torque flight automatic transmission, upgraded brakes, reinforced suspension, and an interior that rivaled any Cadillac in luxury. It was equal parts brute force and sophisticated comfort. Here's a little-known fact. The Chrysler 300C was part of the exclusive letter car series, which began in 1955 with the original 300 and continued each year with a new letter C, D, E, etc. But for many experts, the 1957 300C was the pinnacle of the series, a perfect balance of power, design, and mechanical elegance. And while today we often reserve the term muscle car for models from the 1960s and 70s, many agree that the 300C was the true pioneer of the genre. It had everything that would define muscle cars later on. A massive engine, rear-wheel drive, bold styling, and an attitude that screamed, "Don't follow me if you can't keep up." Today, a well-preserved Chrysler 300C can sell for between $70,000 and $100,000, depending on its originality and restoration level. But beyond the price, owning one means holding a piece of automotive history, a revolution that was just beginning. And there you have it, the 10 fastest American cars of the 1950s. They weren't just fast, they were pure character, pure design, pure history and motion. These were cars that didn't just take you from one place to another, they made you feel like you were part of something greater. An era where the roar of the engine meant freedom. Now we want to hear from you. Which of these classics made your heart race? Have you ever driven one? Or do you still dream of having one parked in your garage? Don't leave without sharing your story in the comments. Here, every memory matters, every voice counts, and your story is part of this community that lives for cars with soul. If this video took you on a trip back in time, leave us a like, subscribe, and turn on notifications, because there are more lists, more curiosities, and more cars coming that will make you say, "I never knew that existed." And if you want to keep traveling through the golden decade, don't miss our video on the 10 most beautiful American cars of the 1950s. I promise you, after seeing them, you'll fall in love all over again.